Something very interesting is going on in the payment space. Yes, XRP and Ripple make up a big part of that. So we're going to deal with it. We are going to talk about it. All of you are welcome to the group. My name is Nick. If this video is your first time on the channel, I hope you decide to join by the end. Let's watch this new movie that Subjective Views put up. It's actually a 3-part movie, and people are starting to talk about it. Around the US, Swift, and now even Project Enbridge are important parts of the picture. Enbridge is a digital currency platform for multiple central banks that lets people send and receive money instantly across borders and swap currencies. To be honest, it's easy to get involved in crypto, but it's much harder to have a plan for when it's time to cash out. That's why I made a free exit plan that you can use for every single crypto position you take. Another great thing about it is that it's free. To get entry, just click on the link at the bottom of this page. What do you need to do now? Take those gains. It's basically a digital bridge that connects the financial systems of different countries. It makes moving money between countries as easy as sending an email. If I put on my tinfoil hat, I could see a world where the US and other major powers purposely use Swift as a tool to bring about change by introducing Project Enbridge and deals that make the global financial system more open. Look at this. In order for standard transactions to go through, they have to be settled through messaging between central banks. This means that the ledgers in both banks correspondingly are changed. Where one central bank's ledger is added to and another central bank's ledger is taken away, this process isn't very good. It takes a long time and costs a lot. Recently, this process has mostly been done through the Swift messaging app, which everyone knows. And that lets the banks that are taking part to each other send private messages in the standard format so they can actually figure out what the other side is telling them. The fees and charges that are involved are quite high, and the process of making changes to the ledgers can take many days. We need to figure out how to save money and time. Of course, those problems were there before the more current ones. And these new problems have to do with how these organizations have been turned into weapons. By weaponized, I mean that they are now part of a system that allows one group, the US, to stop banks from certain countries or groups of banks from being able to send and receive texts with each other. To put it another way, get them kicked out of the important information sharing agreements that make international funds possible. All of these problems are being worked on by Enbridge. A distributed record, also known as a blockchain, is what Enbridge uses to do this. There are 2 main layers that make up the blockchain design. In the first layer, the involved central banks run nodes, which are their own computers that keep a copy of the ledger. It is also possible for those nodes to be a part of the consensus process, which is how the shared ledger is kept up to date. The business banks that are part of this architecture make up the second layer. These business banks now have nodes too, and each node has a copy of the same record. The business banks aren't allowed to directly take part in the ledger updates, which is what makes them different. In other words, the consensus mechanism that decides what the updates are can only be used by the central banks that are involved. All accounts can be updated at the same time thanks to this distributed system. This means that we no longer have to wait for messages to be sent from one party to another and for ledgers to be updated. Instead, both happen at the same time. Because we can make them all at once, we save money as well. Also, because it's a distributed ledger and all the central banks that are part of it are part of the consensus process, no one bank can edit, delete, or block transactions. That's the basic plan, if you will, and how Enbridge has been running up to now. I want to say something about this now, but I need to play these other 2 clips first. But these are important words. The main organizations and technologies that have made cross-border transactions possible for the past 70 years are now really past their useful lives. We are seeing the evolution of technology around the biggest payment technologies as well as the biggest payment networks and businesses in the world. This quote is very important. There are changes all around. I've also been making films about this with the BIS, the IMF, the World Bank, and other groups, but pay close attention. I think that businesses all over the world are starting to understand that the current systems and tools that have made it possible for people to do business across borders for the past 70 years are no longer sufficient. Really have reached the end of their useful life. It's important to understand that these institutions and processes cost a lot of money and take longer than they should. And of course, they're more likely to be censored or used as weapons these days. Going back to November 8th of this year, we saw from Converge building innovative platforms for global payments that are open to everyone. This is the person in charge of payments for Ripple, Citi, and Swift. And this is about important cross-border payment infrastructure, more especially how to shape the next generation of cross-border payment infrastructure. And it even talks about putting it into action. ISO 2022 will be very important for this, and things will start to change in some networks as well. What I mean is that I think big names like Swift are starting to really shine a light on technology, especially new technology, that we thought would never look at crypto or even blockchain before has changed its mind in the last 2 years. A lot of people have been saying things like, oh, well, you know, Swift won't use third-party technology, but that's not true at all. Swift is a texting app. Their job is not to do cleaning and settlements. So if you bring something in that is very helpful, it actually makes it fair for everyone to join this new world of banking. Also, a big thanks to Smoke Talk for writing a full report on this. This is bank disintermediation, and that's Ripple in the local bank area. For the most part, this is all about how we can completely break down the new system. On the bottom, you can see correspondent banking and IPFA with Earthport. Then there's Ripple, which is 8 with local banks and PSPS. The end customer is like the ShopSme and the Corps. That's where Western Union and other places like that are. Ripple and XRP are now thought of as back office technology. That's technology that you can't even see. We also have settlement on Corda over here. You have the Corda settler with cryptocurrency again, for example. XRP, you can also use Swift GPI and Corda to send money. We also asked ourselves why Swift would talk about Ripple and XRP in 2 different papers about making cross-border payments better if they weren't planning to use Ripple's technology. The document was real, as shown in a movie from UC Berkeley. You need to really look at it to get it. But I'm not going to play this video right now. It's from UC Berkeley, and it talks about this and fully breaks down DLT with Ripple and even Stellar. Then we have this, which is the real document. This is from Berkeley. Another thing that a lot of people have been asking is how Swift will work with the third party. This will never happen. Now we're getting somewhere. I could do this all day and use the strongest proof to show every reply troll they're wrong. I just don't want to. Don't do that to those other guys. Changes in Swift technology, or oops, changes in Swift technology for third parties using APIs for fast payments in DLT. And here it is, the next step in the development of Alliance Gateway Instant Swift technology. They are going to need to be switched out. It looks like that's not the case here. We can see that TradFi is starting to work with this whole new world of banking, which is mostly DeFi, if you will. They are coming together, though, at a time when the new banking system is being born. It's going on now, even if it's slow. We've seen this in pretty much everything the BIs and the IMF have done. That is what the leaders want. The new banking system is being born right now. And Ripple seems to be at the center of all of these important conversations because of the technology they use and the links they've made over the past 10 years. They are also very high-level links. It's the IMF, the World Bank, the BIs, and a lot of other groups. Having said that, I do believe we are living through this big evolution. When I look at these projects being pushed by the BIs and Swift, I don't think that Swift will be replaced by Ripple right now. When we really look at Ripple, I don't think they're trying to replace Swift either. I believe that the big players that were really dominating the traditional banking space will start to connect with Ripple in a way that is similar to how plug and play works. One great example of this is ethereum, right? They've worked together with ethereum since at least 2022, and this is one of the biggest networks out there. Check out these numbers.